Final question of our mailbag today. The Heat are 7-8 with a point differential of about a 500 team. Their offense and defensive rating is in the middle of the pack. Everything about this team suggests that it is just average. And we know that average is not where you want to be. With 11 of the next 16 games on the road, many of them against playoff teams, things aren't getting any easier. So my question to you, David, if this thing goes south, at what point should the Heat consider blowing it up?
I just don't see any point for this organization ever saying, you know what, it's time to blow things up. A catastrophic injury, a season-ending injury to Jimmy within the next handful of games, perhaps. There's a lot of tension behind the scenes, perhaps, but I'm trying to think back to the last time that they may have tanked, which was the 2007-2008 season, right? Before they drafted Michael Beasley.
A full
they
tank, yeah.
Themselves.
I mean, let's not may have. They tanked that year. They tanked.
Well, I don't think they had any choice. Like they traded Shaq. They traded Shaq. They made some other trades there.
Yeah.
Wayne was out for most of the year with a shoulder injury.
But
like there was a lot of factors.
Sure,
there.
but they tanked. Like they effectively tanked, and I would even argue right the end of the 2013 season. It wasn't a full season tank, but the last week they kind of tanked the last couple games to make sure that they got in the lottery. Ended up picking Justice Winslow, so that was like a soft kind of end of the year tank, which I have no problem with.
The 14-15 season, I guess.
Yeah,
so. I mean, yeah.
So it's like a little mini 1 week tank.
You also had Chris Bosh that was like, having a career-threatening injury.
Yeah,
at the time.
Look, there are plenty of reasons to tank, but either you tank or you don't tank. If we're just going to look at this as a binary, and they did tank both of those times. They had their reasons. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have. And I agree with you, by the way.
The tank that a lot of fans expect here are like, trade Jimmy Butler while his value's at an all-time high.
Well, let's talk about that. I agree with you. It's not going to happen. The Heat are not going to do. They're not going to blow up this team in the middle of the year. You and I agree on that. My question to you was, should they?
I made a point about that at some point earlier in the season that if they're going to tank, this is a season to do it because you want to get it all in on the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes.
Oh yeah,
Scoot Henderson, lots of some prospects there. But my how I feel. If anybody's listened to this show for a prolonged period of time, you know that I care not a single bit for the NBA draft.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
You've long been on that. Kudos to you. You've also sort of long been on the what is talent really? Like It's so undefinable. I'm just gonna ask you a point blank question. I just want you to answer it with a name. I'm gonna give you two names, and you give me one name as your answer. Who is more talented, Victor Wembanyama or Max Strus?
I don't know that you can answer that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Move on. Continue with your point. Continue with your point.
I remember having this conversation on Locked On NBA when we were hosting with Ben Colliver, and everybody was in Zion mania. And Zion's been a pretty decent, okay player during his NBA career.
Okay, he's been pretty good.
Is he the game changer that everybody thought he was?
He was when he was healthy.
I don't know that he's ever going to be healthy. And on top of the fact that he might be able to give you 25 to 28 points per game, he's also going to give up about 25 to 28 points per game. So that reduces his value. Wembanyama, like you watch some of the footage out there, there's the shot that everybody's, it's been making the rounds on social media. I think the comparison was to a baby giraffe. That's not healthy. Like you should not have somebody at 7 foot plus.
Okay, fine. Would you rather have, though, Victor Wembanyama or Max Strus?
Max Strus, because he's an actual NBA player today, and that's who I'd rather have on this roster. And I think that's fair. Like, again, the blowing up the idea is nonsensical to me. You claw and fight your whole way through years of mediocrity and worse, just to get a player half as good as Jimmy Butler. You've already got Jimmy Butler on the roster. Look at the Orlando Magic. When's the last time they had a goddamn star on their roster? And now we all want to lean into Paolo Banchero.
He's awesome.
That's fine. He's fine. He's fine. It's also been 15 games in his rookie campaign where he's putting up a lot of shots.
Would you also prefer to have Strus over Paolo Banchero?
What's more important to me is fit than anything. Look, they tanked a lot of years.
Banchero would be a really nice power forward.
That hasn't panned out for them. They tanked a lot of years so they could get Victor Oladipo. That didn't work out for them. They tanked for a lot of years so they could get Aaron Gordon. He's a fine defensive player, and that's about it. Tanking and blowing things up for a high draft pick. Guarantees anything.
It doesn't guarantee anything. Nothing guarantees anything. Like that's just a losing argument
what's
already.
Guaranteed is a player who's actually a player who can actually play, like Max Strus.
What's guaranteed about what the Heat have now? Nothing. Nothing is guaranteed about what they have now.
Winning.
winning. They're not winning. They're a game under 500. They are
just
playing basketball games.
Their record shows. Like I think that's that's just ingenuous because
you can't. A lot better. If your argument is that it's not guaranteed, then you're going to win every argument. Because I can come to you right now and say you could trade for Kevin Durant right now, and that doesn't guarantee you a championship. And that's the opposite of tanking for Victor Wembanyama.
No,
so again, nothing is guaranteed.
Levels to that. There's
not an argument.
15 and 67. And then there's NBA championship. There's a lot in between there. And I think that's the problem is that everybody's seeing it as blow it up. Let's not win more than 10 games a season or got to get the ring or else this is all pointless.
I will say that Miami, the only stretch in which Miami has been a championship team came in when they got Dwayne Wade in the top 5 of the draft. That's it. Without Dwayne Wade, there is no Dwayne Wade and Shaquille O'Neal championship. Without Dwayne Wade, there is no Big 3 championship. Without Dwayne Wade, this team is as it is now, forever. It is Tim Hardaway and Alonzo Mourning losing in the playoffs, and it is Jimmy Butler doing his best and being incredible, but ultimately not having enough around him and the Miami Heat losing in the playoffs. That's what the Heat have been in its entirety of the franchise, if not for getting Dwayne Wade in the top 5 of that draft. That is where historic players come. And that's all I'm saying. And so
Jimmy Butler also
at what point
historically better than Dwayne Wade in terms of playoff numbers, at least last year.
Let's not compare. You are in a losing fight if you're going to compare D Wade to Jimmy Butler. Who's on the?
All I'm saying is the numbers show that Jimmy last year had a better
what about the ring numbers
than any other season in Dwayne Wade's history.
What about the ring?
And what
numbers,
was he drafted
David?
at? What was he? What was
30th.
his drafts?
30th. Yeah. But he didn't win a ring. He didn't win a ring. Look, you're not going to. I'm not falling for this. You're not pinning me, Jimmy versus Dwayne. You're not going to pin me.
Unless Shaq gets here, Dwayne Wade doesn't win anything either. Unless LeBron gets here, two physical.
Fair enough. Look, a lot of things got to go right. I'm just giving you facts. I'm just laying out facts. In terms of if they should consider blowing it up, I'm on the fence about it. I don't know. If you really ask me, should this team ever trade Jimmy Butler? My answer would be, of course, no. If I really had to give you an answer, but I do look at what Utah just did in trading their best 2 players in Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, established all-star players, all NBA players, and the amount of draft picks that they got, and the amount of young players that they got, and how bright their future appears to be for now. And by the way, a team that is still competing right now. I know they lost a bunch in a row, but they are still competitive. You look at that, and it's hard not to be tempted by it. If you traded Jimmy Butler to Dallas, New York, Phoenix,
you're not getting the same return as Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. Like that's
Jimmy,
the thing.
Fair. You might not get the same return, but you're getting a bunch of stuff. If you trade Jimmy Butler, I don't know what you're getting, but you're getting a bunch of stuff. You're getting players to match salary, and you're getting draft picks. And if you do that with him, I don't know what you could get for Lowry, maybe a first-round pick, like a team from like Washington or Minnesota, or a team that needs a fix at that position, maybe something like that. Could you trade him? Could you trade one of these guys to the Lakers and get one of these unprotected 2027, 2029 picks that everybody else wants? There are things that you could do to get younger quicker, retool around Bam and Tyler, so maybe it's not a full tank, maybe not a full blow-up, because you're still going to compete when you got Bam on the floor and Tyler. I don't know. It is tempting, but I agree with you. Look, if this team is 40 games in, beginning of January, and they're 10 games under 500, they should probably think about it. But at the end of the day, you, me, and Pat Riley are all going to say, no, we're not doing this. We're not trading Jimmy Butler. It's just not going to happen.
15 and 25. That's the benchmark for you?
Yeah, where you think about it. Yeah, because at that point, if you're 15 and 25, the playoffs might not even happen at that point, let alone competing. So what do you do at that point?
Again, it's an interesting idea, but even then, like, how do you compete with the Houstons at the team? Like, they have to really crap the bed every night just so they can get a ping pong ball that might possibly bounce in their favor.
Right? Like, you almost have to trade Bam too, and Tyler, which it's hard to trade Tyler because of the poison pill thing. But
that's a different conversation, right? Let's go back to what we were talking about, the 2007-8 season. If Bam, who we just have both agreed might be Miami's most important, if not their best player, suffers a season-ending injury, which you hope that never happens. If that's the case, then there's no chance of them competing. Like, they just don't have it defensively. Right. They don't have it offensively. They don't have anything. They don't have the guy who does all the little things.
Right.
Then at that point, I think you start considering the possibility of exploring a Jimmy Butler trade.
Who would take Jimmy? I mentioned Phoenix, Dallas. Those to me seem like really good teams that could use Jimmy Butler.
Will they trade Devin Booker for Jimmy Butler? Like, does he give him a better chance to win?
No. But you would get like Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, whatever picks Phoenix has.
Trade him to Milwaukee for Chris Middleton as an impending free agent?
That's interesting. I don't think Milwaukee would do that, though. I don't think that they would blow things up. Middleton and Giannis get along too much. And honestly, right now, Middleton is better for Milwaukee than Jimmy Butler would be just because they have the chemistry. And trying to work in Jimmy Butler midstream is tough. Brooklyn? But, you're not taking Kyrie Irving back.
Yeah.
They wouldn't give up Kevin Durant for Jimmy Butler. That doesn't make any sense for Brooklyn's timeline. Portland could make a little bit of sense.
Toronto for Scotty Barnes? Would they do that?
Toronto would never do that.
For Siakam?
Siakam, OG possibly, something like that. Draft picks, that's possible. Denver could really use a guy like Jimmy Butler. Defensive issues solved right there. New Orleans, Memphis. Memphis.
Back to Chicago for Zach LaVine, right?
Chicago for Zach LaVine, possibly. It depends. I don't know. Chicago, if they're going to trade Zach LaVine, I feel like they're going to just blow it up as well. The Clippers, I don't know. Who knows? There's teams out there that, like Jimmy Butler, one of the best 10 players in the league. There are teams that would want Jimmy Butler. I don't think that that's a stretch to say. If they wanted to shop him, there would be a lot of suitors. Is kind of what Golden State could use Jimmy Butler at this point.
Dallas playing alongside Luka?
Dallas. I already mentioned Dallas. It would be ideal. Yeah, that would be a great fit.
Tim Hardaway Jr.
and whatever young Josh Green's off the bench, young kind of bit players, and then all the picks that they got a bunch of picks for the. Or no, they sent away a bunch of trips. I don't even know if they have the picks to get it done. But who knows? Thank you again for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Remember to subscribe to new episodes of Locked On Heat on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Ring the bell to get notified as soon as new episodes go up. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. David, it's time to blow it up.
Abolish the NBA draft.